It's the Real Anglers Podcast with community Kevin Brannon, brought to you by AFTCO Fishing Apparel and Tackle, designed to perform. Channel Islands Sport Fishing, offering deep-sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats, and more. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. See what's out there. Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. Promar and Ahi USA. Premium fishing products and accessories with concepts developed by passionate anglers. Eagle Claw. American ingenuity and craftsmanship since 1925. Mudhole, the world's largest inventory of rod building and tackle crafting components from the best brands. Mossy Oak. From hot days in the water to sweltering afternoons in the woods, we've got you covered. Outfit your obsession. Special thanks to Subaru of Ventura and the Latino Business Expo. And now, here's your host, Community Kevin Brannon. Today's guest, Vern Morseman of Ventura Hobbies. This is the Real Angler Podcast. I am R. Scott Bolton, and we have, of course, community Kevin Brannon here. And our special guest today is Vern Morseman from Ventura Hobbies. And I'm going to stop leaning into this and let them get going. So let's go.
Let's go. So we didn't bring Barry today, but what we did bring was Missy's Cupcakes to share right here in Vern's same shopping center. Missy has been a donor and a supporter of the Real Guppy Outdoors, actually where we're at in the Channel Islands Harbor. That's where she used to be at Fisherman's Wharf, and there's one that says Real Guppy Outdoors supporter, a little that still sits there to this day. So anyway, just wanted to this show's brought to you too by Missy's Cupcakes. Thank you for all your support. And here's Vern. Let me just introduce Vern for a second. He's been at our, used to go to our Boat Burger Throwdowns. He donates to the fundraisers that we have with his models. He sits across from me on KBTA at the radio every Friday morning. He co-hosts that as well. I did some pest control for him a little bit. When he needed an exterminator, he called Kev to come out and be his Orkin man. But his dedication to his work and his craft is something that's always stood out to me. What he's doing in this industry, working with models. Today he's working with me, a model. Just playing, Vern. I always got to throw the corny dad jokes. But I think it's Americana about models and building things for so many generations and how long he's been doing it. So you're going to tell you some of his story, and also maybe the way that it translates into perhaps fly fishermen that build their own flies, and the same kind of utilizing your hands and problem solving that fishing does, the same with your motor skills and working on models. And then also going into the holidays, how many people get ready for toy trains and stuff like that. So we thought it'd be a great time of year to bring in Vern. But he is a friend of ours, a friend of the shows, and a friend of mine, and a supporter for probably at least maybe 10 years or so. And
almost close to the beginning.
Yeah. So go ahead, Vern, introduce yourself. Tell that we don't script any of this or write it. We have some ideas. Vern's phone's ringing. He's the only guy here. And the reason that we're on location, go ahead, Vern, and get that, is because he's a one-man show. Works every day, 7 days a week, and he couldn't leave he couldn't leave his facility, Scott. Because
he asked us to come here, so we came here to do the podcast today. And you can see all these great models in the background. And this is just a tiny portion of the store. But look at these. They have like the surf hot rods. They got monsters. They got these classic cars. They got all.
I'm a lowrider guy. I'm about to get me. Look at this right here. Look at the Monte Carlo. What?
James Bond cars. There's one from Goldfinger over here. I have to get this and show you, folks.
Yeah, get it.
1 second. Because this is my kind of thing. We got Godzilla right there. I may end up walking out the door with this one. I might buy this before we leave.
So he has models. You can see I'm just going to change while Vern's on the phone again. This is reality TV. But look at all the jets and model airplanes that are up there. Humongous selection of all those cool models with airplanes. Over here he has boats. Again, so if you're watching this on YouTube, you get to see more of it. And if you're not watching it on YouTube and you're listening to it on streaming, it might be a good one that you might want to switch over and go to the YouTube.
Roughedge.tv will take you there, and you can see the actual YouTube videos as opposed to audio. So check that out, please.
And on another note, when we start to, we have a couple camera folks that are coming in. We're going to be coming back to some of the locations that we do, like we talked about last week. With Captain Colker, is that we're going to jump on a boat and go out and do some commercial fishing. So now that we're building this team and assembling this team this year, that you're going to see us come and make videos. Again, my Hugh Hauser Community Kev / California's Gold thing on here. So let me just walk you through here why Vern is... Scott, why don't you help narrate this while he's on the phone again? I know what it's like to be a one-man team and doing it all, so we got to pay him his respect.
Absolutely.
Making his dough. What else you got here, Scotty?
Tons of great models here. We got tons of balsa wood, I'm assuming, here.
Yep.
For building various models. You got guides and magazines. You got books and other things. We come over here and there's some helicopter models, some jet models, a lot of military stuff. Here's the Hummer Avenger.
So again, it's nostalgic. It has all the stuff from our childhoods. World War II, memorabilia, boats, military, airplanes.
Here's my dad's old truck.
So it's kind of like a walk down there. So all you need right now, I think, is like again, just from my history, right, is like a pop, right? Like a soda pop and a fruit beer float or something, and it kind of takes you into back in time. But there's definitely some modern day times as well. Look at, there's some Transformers and stuff.
Got Star Wars over here.
So if you ever thought about getting into creating a model or maybe a family project, and that's another way that we tie in Vern to our guppies, is that, for a family building project, mom and dad and son and kid, you got board games and stuff, but you also have a way where you guys can put together a family project of building a model. Check this out, Scotty. So here, if you're into the model trains, here's all the little parts, especially again with Christmas coming in. I know.
Look at that little trees. You got the little railroad tracks.
You got the bonsai trees there. So again, if you're listening to this, you might want to switch over and go over to YouTube and watch what we're talking about and see it live and kind of bringing it to you.
Paints over here on this side. We have all these paints that are available.
I'm guessing
that's a very important part of model making. Is one of the reasons I stopped making models, because it was too much work. Like Vern said, it's one of those things that takes a lot of patience. I don't have patience. But if you do, come down and build it, because I have a friend, John, who builds models, terrific models. He does a great job. But it takes him a year to finish a model because he takes his time. I guess you have to file off the edges of the plastic and do the painting first. Everybody wants to build it right away, but of course there's different methods too.
So you sound like a business talk right there, Scotty, that you want to rush through the process instead of taking your time and getting it down. All right, the star of our show is back for today. He's back. But again, that is a business model. Talking about the word model, that it does take time. You got to be patient in fishing. You can't just rush through it. There is a beauty to it. It takes time. There you go, Vern. You want you to take over now. Hope that was a great call that you had, but we did a quick little walk around your model shop. So tell us again, some of your history, how you got into modeling, and we'll just go from there, brother.
Started building models at 5 years old, so I have 60 years of building experience, along with being a self-taught engineer, because I own a manufacturing company where we're involved in major motorsports. I've been on IndyCar teams, NASCAR teams. I'm a retired race driver and pilot. But I grew up in this thing. So
You're a retired pilot too?
No, retired race driver.
Oh, I don't know, retired pilot.
I played in the big leagues, but I didn't get the driving call, because when you go racing, unlike basketball and baseball, you bring money, and it's not a little bit of money. You bring a wheelbarrow plus. To run an Indy car is $550 a mile.
Wow.
So it's very, very expensive. But a lot of fun. Been in this industry, done models for Lindbergh models when they were around. We built box art models. We have a club here. We've done that. I put products on the market in the hobby industry and in the aviation, aerospace, and racing industry. And all that comes from model building. You're wondering, what is the point of him sitting there lambasting and talking about himself? No, this all starts from model building. I have seen in 50 years of doing this that the kids who started building models with me at 5 years old have turned out to be architects, engineers, draftsmen. One of them was a commander out at Point Magoo.
Career pathways, people. Go ahead.
Flying and commanding VX-31, the Bloodhounds. So model building can teach you a lot. And if you wait till after 5 and you've got them in the public school system, the school system is shutting their brain down. They won't tell you that, but they're shutting their brain down.
Programming.
Because they want you to follow their lead. And I was telling a father this one day, had 3 boys, and he looked at me like I was, what am I talking about? Walked around the store and looked, and he realized his middle son, who started 5, was the smartest of the 3.
Well, because I think I say this about, even though I'm going into schools and educating and, watching the Reading Rainbow documentary that I talked about 80 years ago from the 1980s, I mean, when the teacher started to change, is that some of us believe that they're trying to create a workforce versus thinkers, right? We don't want thinkers, we want workers. And some of that in programming them, this is just my outlook on what you're saying, right? Without trying to put down the school aspect of it. But because right now, as we're being called in to do more work, it's about the critical thinking skills, right? And these are things, right, where your brain is thinking and you're working and you're problem solving, that we kind of tie into fishing and tying a knot and tying a hook, learning confidence and working through a process. Is that kind of similar to what you might think you're talking about there? Am I similar?
There's a lot of, I see the fishermen come in the store. They're looking for paints for their lures as they're making their own lures. I've had fly fishermen in here. One of my customers, Mr. Lopez, it makes lures, and he comes in here and gets his supplies when he is working on what we call prototype, where you're working on the one-offs to start your mass production. So there's a lot of crossover between fishing and the hobby industry, and a lot of them started doing models, whether it was car models, as you see, the airplane models, or tanks. We have the science fiction stuff like the Gundam models. So there's a lot with model building. Model building will teach you, this is the body, this is the hood, this is the engine block, the transmission, the differential, or this is a cowling for an airplane, or the propeller, or your wings. So you're going to understand where parts go. Unlike Legos require no skill, because if you don't, there's no cause and effect. You put it in the wrong place, you undo it, because you haven't added the glue element. You add the glue element, now you're focusing more.
Commitment.
it's problem solving and thinking. Then what happens with the car guys is some of the models have 2-in-1 and 3-in-1, so you can make choices. Do I want to do a hot rod? Do I want to do a street rod? Or do I want to do it stock? Well, all those extra parts become your, as we call it in here, Sanford and Son junk bin. Sanford and Son. Most of you people watching this have no idea who Fred Sanford was.
My mom used to call me Fred Sanford because I used to bring home, I had a little cart that I parked in front of our motel room, and it had everything I collected that day. So my mom used to call me Sanford and Son because I used to bring home all these odds and ends and collect them and park our little cart, whether it was collecting my cans or something I thought was neat out of a trash can, because I was a dumpster diver as a kid. As one of my professions is selling bottles and cans and bottles at the recycling center, but I would park it down there. My mom would be like, Sanford's home, here he comes, come on, Lamont. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, you can watch him on either MeTV or some of like Catchy TV or Rewind TV. Hilarious show from the 70s. But then those guys start thinking, and those guys become the hot rod guys. Those guys become the lowrider guys. And it begins that evolution of a car guy. A lot of the car guys in the Mexican community that do the lowriders, they have this artistic skills that when I put on my annual plastic model contest, the fourth Sunday in February of every year at the Ventura County Fairgrounds, these guys, some of them are so good, they actually paint the mural on the trunks.
Wow.
That's where model building can take you. For science-related stuff, we have the model rocketry portion of the store, which teaches you the STEM, the mathematics and science. So there's not just coming in here and building a model and putting it on a shelf. There's the educational part. You've got school building supplies in here, the California mission kits. So we work with the moms and the kids during science fair, Pinewood Derby, when they do Pinewood Derbies at times. So there's a lot of crossover in the store. It's like walking into what we call the Happy Days Richie Cunningham hardware store.
That's what I was saying. I was telling Scotty, I think all we're missing is like a root beer float, like a soda pop. Like it had that feeling of taking that time back, that without trying to date it or outdate it, but that's the feeling that I had of coming in here or walking along that backside. Is that same feeling you're talking about?
A metal center with brass rod and brass tubing and sheets for you're doing your projects. Touch-up paint for a cabinet or something, and the phone's ringing again.
All right, jump on that. Well, it's good, Scotty. Let's jump in real quick because some of what he's saying, again, the process, I think what we're going to do, again, the same with business planning, right? And commitment and committing. And also when you start talking about the science part and, the dedication and the focus of the work. So I could see how exactly the same type of metaphors or the same type of philosophy of getting your mind thinking, committing. Again, a Lego, again, that's somebody that's kind of like, just snapping it together versus somebody that's committing. Once you put that glue on these models, you're making a commitment to that, right? You're not going to break it apart. That, okay, I feel confident enough right here that I'm going to make it work and is going to stick it out. I'm committed to it versus being able to disassemble it, break it, and put it back together. That these take a little bit more commitment. So in life, there's commitments and things that we need to, again, if you're doing business or you're following your dream and things that you're doing, that you're going to have to commit to the process in which you get it.
That's a good point. That matches up pretty good. Well, I'll tell you this. He was talking about about how models educate you, and I can speak from experience. When I was a kid, they came out, and I know you probably don't remember this, but the Wankel rotary engine. It was a different type of car engine that wasn't a piston. And I was so curious about it when I was a kid. My dad came home today with a plastic model of a Wankel rotary engine. And I put it together and I understood how it worked. I've long forgotten, but I learned that by building a model. So what Vern was saying is 100% true.
You know what? I'm going to tag you in, Scotty. I want you to finish this little segment with Vern. So maybe you guys have a little, or work through this segment since you grew up in that area. And I want you to do some. I want you to engage more in this today's podcast as well. So.
Well, I have some questions. I'm curious about some things. So what is the type of model that you sell the most of here?
That changes by whoever walks through the door.
Sure.
But in large part, it's the car section that carries the store in terms of the models.
Interesting.
The car guys are in greater numbers. You have car guys covering from young kids that are getting excited about cars. Although I laugh at the Fast and Furious movies as a joke, but they brought in a new group of car guys, as the young guys love what are called the tuners, the Japanese cars. When we grew up, Scotty, it was the V8 muscle car.
That's right.
We laugh today at the prices of cars, and I personally think we're being taken for advantage, because when we were young, you could pick up a muscle car for $500. That car, $500 back then, was a lot of money to us, because minimum wage was like 65 cents an hour when we started. But you could work on your own cars. In your driveway, you learned how to change the plugs, the points, the condensers, to do your own oil jobs. When you lifted the hood, you saw the engine instead of a bunch of plastic. That's what model building can help you with. He's talking about the Wankel rotary engine. I have a V8 engine that you got a hand crank, and you can see how this Chevrolet, it's based off the Chevy 350, how an engine works with the crankshaft going to the connecting rods to the pistons, moving the camshaft, opening and closing the valves, and you see how an engine works. So there's a lot of educational related stuff, because you just can't go work on engines anymore because we don't have the facilities. Most people today, we've been talking about it quite a bit. When we grew up in the 60s, the family was a close-knit family. Mom and dad's, we lived in a house with a garage. Grandma and grandpa had a garage. Aunts and uncles had a garage. Our cousins had garages. The garage was the hub of thinking and creating and working on things for the guys. And that's where we learned to work on everything that we don't have with an apartment complex or a condominium complex. So having the car you're going to work on isn't as common as it used to be. So we've got a V8 model engine that's been around since the early 60s, so that you can learn how to work on engines. Even got aircraft engines, Allison turboprop engines. So you can come in and get knowledge on how to do things, because that's what a hobby shop is all about, is knowledge.
Do you, jumping in, just ask a question too, do you put, you say you put clinics together here, like we put clinics together when we do our rod building? I started thinking about that, how they construct their rods and getting their minds going and putting on the little details that they like. Do you have, I know you said you had one coming up in December, but how often do you do any type of clinics, or people could come in first timers to get started and or follow up and stuff like that? Do you do anything like that?
I don't do any clinics because we've done those in the past and they just don't work. Everybody, look at schools. You've got your slow kids, your middle kids, and your fast kids. So what I do is work on you with you one-on-one,
Important.
giving you what you need, not what a group needs, because I don't want anybody left behind. And that's the best. I found that to be the best, that one-on-one time. So you're getting your question answered to your specific need, rather than taking a general thing that somebody asks and trying to apply it. I learned that at a very young age, because owning a manufacturing company, trying to learn to program a computerized milling machine with a product you're never even going to make, you're trying to convert that to what you're doing, and in that you're losing the translation. It's like speaking Greek and you need Italian, but we're speaking this type of Italian and adding a little bit of English slang. It just doesn't work. So one-on-one has always been the best.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. It's like schools. If you had somebody with one-on-one instead of a teacher with 32 students, that person's going to get the attention. They're going to learn the most because it's direct and it's adapted to their personality.
We find that out with our fishing too. Like some days when we have like 50 people on the pier, like on the fourth Sunday, it has its it gets, we're moving all over the place, right? So many moving parts. But if you do a class that only has like 8 or 10 students or a smaller group, and we have our 4 or 5 volunteers, that they get more time. We call it more of an intimate setting, that they are getting a chance to really work with them versus just all that. So I completely understand the difference of the small group or the small intimate setting for teaching. But just wondering how, if people are listening, to come in and know what kind of that you do offer that one-on-one part, so that they do have those questions or they want to get into it, because you're a very knowledgeable person passing on the knowledge, but just what kind of things you offer for model building.
And some people can be intimidated. They come in and they want to build a model because it sounds exciting, it sounds like fun, it sounds like they want to learn something, but then they come in there and they open a box up and they're like, what? And they need somebody like you to say, well, this is how we do it. You do it this way.
You have to walk them through, because if in any setting, a conference setting, teaching setting, you only remember 3% your first time there, because you're so focused that your brain is in constant transmit mode rather than receive. And that's where I find that's a detriment to society, is we always joke here, like the old CB radios. As long as your microphone is keyed, you're not hearing a thing. So when you work on the one-on-one, most people today do not know how to ask a question. Mm-hmm. We have lost the art of communication. And although we're doing this on a podcast, you know what? Having technology has hurt America. When Scott and I grew up, and I've seen this firsthand, when Texas Instrument created the calculator in 1968-69, back then it was a $500 piece of equipment.
That's right.
When those became affordable for the consumer to buy, people quit learning to add and subtract in your head. And that's where we've gone with technology. Everybody thinks it's great. It has its place, but it's actually stopped the brain from functioning in the manner of as it was many, many decades
Because you can't
ago.
Google everything.
That's right.
No, you need knowledge, and what you folks need to understand is we all have grandparents, we all have aunts and uncles that are older. You want to get as much knowledge of them as possible, because when that generation is gone, Google's not going to help you. Working on stuff like this, whether you're in the craft stores doing craft stuff for the ladies, whether you're cooking and learning how to cook and make quality food that doesn't have preservatives. When we grew up, there was no preservatives. There was no heavy kid in the block. We were all thin because our foods didn't have preservatives, because it was always
And you
cooked.
had all those grandma's recipes, right? We need to get together and say, we need grandma's old recipes. Well, if you tuck up under grandma and learn some of those recipes, that's how you pass down tradition and knowledge,
100% right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what model building is all about. We joke in here a lot, because this is a fun business. If you come in with seriousness, I'm going to ratchet you down, because I am not a serious person. I
get
clown around a lot, and I'm so old school that if you're looking for a huggy-feely type of guy, I'm not your guy. I'm just straight to the point.
I'm glad you bring that up. Let me just, because I
Come back in.
Because me as a teacher right now, talking like that, especially with the Guppy Ranger program and being a manager and a leader, like, it's not all, I can't, I give you enough to train you, but I like what you said. If you listen to what he said, he has a capacity of thinking of how much you learn on the first day. So if I'm not training my people or my staff, that's a me thing. So we could come up to that to be like, or do you have the tools, right? Do you have the glue? Do you have the tools that you need? What is preventing us for me to get there? But I know that through repetitions, you're going to learn the task that I'm asking you to do at a time, right? There's a skill level that you go up.
There's a skill.
But not, I'm sorry, just to finish, is that I'm not the most delicate either in certain projects, because it's just, in that position, I'm a builder, I'm a leader like you. But again, we're not going to sugarcoat everything, because that's not the best way to, but not downgrading you or cussing you out and telling you, making you feel bad about it, but at least holding you accountable and putting an expectation what you think the person should be delivering, right?
As I always say, if I hit something in you that makes you mad, you need to look inside to figure, what button did I push to correct that button? Because that button's going to get pushed again in life, and that button could be your opportunity to take that next level up, but because you didn't reprogram that button, you lost out.
That is it. And because because right now I was talking to a staff guy yesterday. I'm a super defensive guy from my past. So when I had to do my own self-inventory these last couple of years, honestly, Vern, of saying that, so that way, versus real quick to be defensive, why does that still bother me? Like, what is that? What am I still holding on to that I haven't worked on myself yet to that defense mechanism to lash back out? And I'm 45. The point of that is, good thing we're teaching the stuff now and explain, because you're explaining it to the individual when they're asking the question. You're not just saying, this is not this. And they say, well, again, look inside you to see why that did hit you. The word that we use, triggered. And why do these things still trigger you? So at 45, like me, you're not trying to figure out that stuff, that you start to look at those things at a younger, to grow.
You've got to grow. And see, that's the thing with growing up with elders that were born in the late 1800s. They didn't have time to make it War and Peace. It was a short story. Because in all honesty, we don't know how long we get the elders here. You know, I instantly lost my dad. I saw him on a Wednesday. He was in the hospital. He was excited that he was going to be released on Friday. Wednesday late, Thursday morning when he got up to go to use the facilities, a blood clot moved up and shut his heart down. So all that knowledge with my dad was gone. So we don't know our time on the planet. And I'm not trying to play doom and gloom, but as being a retired race driver and being involved with
Indy cars, realistic, man.
With Indy cars and NASCAR, when we strapped a driver in, we didn't know if he was coming home. And also being a pilot, you know, things happen. So you need to cherish every moment and understand that God gave us a beginning clock, but we don't know what the ending clock is. Enjoy the journey of life, because it has so much to offer. Spending time on your phone and your computer and not being outside in the sun, we don't know how many days we get to look at the clouds from the ground up, because it's beautiful. Outside, when we rode our bicycles, Scott, what was a rainy day? It was an opportunity to see how far we could make a wooden boat go down the gutter.
That's true. Yep.
We were outside in the rain.
Do you think that some of it, though, I'm going to jump in on this part, because I think some of it is the parents now don't let their kid go out and get a stuffy nose. So it's not so much the kid. I think some of the parenting, the helicopter parenting, and the preventative of them going out and doing that. It's, again, go outside and splash in the puddles. Where now it's like, oh my God, you're going to get sick, and let's sanitize your face and keep you inside. And like, so it's not just necessarily the parents. I think some of it is how not the child, but how, again, those parents are more preventative on that, because they're so worried and considered about what's gonna, you know what I'm saying, right? Just helicoptering.
Rainy days were an opportunity, and folks, if you don't let that body work, you don't build the immune.
And that immune system, right?
You know, I've got a friend I consider my brother, and he always is using that dadgum hand sanitizer, and he's always getting sick. You know, my parents always harped on me, and even my other half, she harps on me. When I bite my nails. Well, you know what? One day my dad said, you know, we need to put some stuff on your hands. Well, being in the hobby business and a manufacturing business, I was using a cutting oil for stainless that tasted like sulfur. Never bothered me. I've tasted a lot of sulfur because that's how I think. But it's things like that, drinking water out of a hose that we used to do, playing and eating dirt, literally eating dirt.
Head pies.
All that stuff builds up your
playing in the creek.
System.
Playing in the creek.
Just, it's parents, we used to be able to ride our bicycles everywhere. Everybody's got their idea of parenting.
Everywhere too. We didn't even know you're where. I remember we lived in the south side of Wainimi, and we're riding our bikes over in Lemonwood at the jumps behind Channel Island, which is that channel that what am I saying? We're on the corner of Channel Islands and Rose, though, right? There used to be fields back there that we would jump behind Oxnard College. That's what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
And I had no idea that we're coming all the way from over by the pier, riding our bikes also everywhere. Anyway, go ahead.
But I'm just saying, it's exploring those things in life. You know, today, I mean, we were using knives at a young age to cut the pieces. We didn't have the thoughts of stabbing somebody. It was working with your tools, learning the limit with your tools. A screwdriver slipping and hitting your knuckles. Well, you learn how to handle the screwdriver different, how to handle your X-Acto knife as you're trimming on your part, you're working on your doily or whatever, and learning to work with your tools to have respect for the tools and what they're capable of. I mean, the most dangerous thing in the world is a car. Okay, but what do? We love driving cars. My other half, she just got a new. I saw her yesterday, and it's like, oh, they give you a loaner car from the car dealer because someone got in her car and she was taking somewhere and pushed those stupid buttons on the door handle on the right side and broke it, and that's $1,000 fix by over pushing a button. So I said, "Oh, that's a nice loader car." She goes, "No, I bought a new car."
Well, that's what you're saying before, because I know you have work to do. We want to talk about anything coming up in the holidays and what you guys do around trains and holiday stuff. But that's what one thing that we switched up from when I was a scout was that the scouts would always limit. You needed a certain age or a badge. A totem chip was one about the knife, right? I can't hold the knife until I get my totem chip, and I got to do all these things. But when we're on the kid fishing day, we allow the kids to cut the bait. We allow them at the sink to do it. We show them how to do it, how to tuck their thumbs, how to slice one time, how to respect the knife, and how to do it. So what you're saying is the same thing as we do with our fishing program on the pier, is allowing them that. Before the kid, like we had a guy the other day, we talked about this on the last podcast. He was there helping, and he's telling the kid, "Oh, that's gross." So the kid didn't want to touch the bait on the cutting board. Like, why would you tell him that? Like, they're cutting it and using the bait. And when you tell them that you're already putting that it's gross, now they don't want to touch it because you've already sunk that into their brain.
Yeah, the kid never thought it was gross.
Right.
Until
They were about to go, like, how do you, but teaching them, look, this is how you cut the bait. But allowing, now, if there's a kid stabbing in the face, like you say, the wrong, you might say, hey, maybe you're not the bait cutter. Let's find you something more constructive. But we do allow them that part to use the tool. And it doesn't matter what age. When the scouts would say, not until I'm 12, Kevin Jr., when he was a scout, I'm like, he's already doing it. I'm not going to prevent his growth because you're saying he can't cut bait until he's 9. Well, he's cutting bait already at 7 at our kid day. So we're going to do away with those restrictions and limitations as a guppy ranger. So we're taking what you're saying, applying it without keeping limitations, but they're learning how to use it, problem solving, learning confident, how to hold that knife confidently. Don't hold it all like this. Like, put your thumb on it, hold it, and slice.
How to use it correctly, yes.
Every tool can be a weapon. Every tool can be your saving grace. Learn the saving grace. When you think something's gross, just as you said, don't say it to a kid, because now that kid believed, hey, I'm learning how to fillet a fish. I'm learning how to do this. He's learning survival skills. And how do you know you just stopped the next gourmet cook?
Yeah.
By you saying, ew, that's gross. He could have been the next Emerald Lagasse.
Yep.
But now you put a wall in front of him.
Limitations, fears, so...
Encourage them, because we don't know with every kid that's born. God has a plan for every kid. Is your kid the next one that's going to develop the cancer drug? Is your kid the next one that's going to figure out how to levitate like the Jetsons? How do you know what your kid is potential of? We see it in here way too many times, Mom. Oh, you can't do that. We've heard that so many times in here. One of my former employees was a school teacher. We looked at each other, and basically that was code for, you just don't have the talent and you can't do that.
Or the limited mindset. Maybe somebody compressed their mindset when they were little, so now they're just passing down that recipe too of, that's out of art. You can't do that, right? Maybe they were told they couldn't, and they haven't had anybody on the other side of that to encourage the whole family lineage, to be honest, man.
The best thing is, I tell the kids, what does WD-40 stand for? The WD is for water displacement. The 40 is 40 times for them to get it right. So what if you're telling a kid he can't do something and he's only done it 2 or 3 times? Took him 40 times to get WD-40 right. Give him an opportunity. What is the best way to gain knowledge? And that's failure. Failure teaches you.
Last one I'll throw into fishing, just a comparison, is we cast a bait caster and you get a backlash. And what happens is, some of these fishermen too, they forget that they got the backlash. And that's the best way you learn. You pull out that backlash on your own, right? You're pulling out the backlash and you have to cast it over again, right? And I remember standing in my front yard with the Abu Garcia with the weight, and I was just casting it into the trees in front of my house or next to the trees, and I would get a backlash and I'd pull it out right there, right? And that's something we teach them. But there it is there of failing. Before, now I could cast a bait, across with the open face reel and cast it, but there's a backlash process. And what happens is, sometimes in fishermen too, is they forget that they used to get backlashes, and now they're the ones clowning the new angler trying to fish. Anyway, just something to throw it out there. You got to get the backlashes, the WD-40, keep taking your cast, keep taking your shot. So go ahead, and you have somebody coming in. Anything going on for the holidays that people could come in and check out, and your location, Vern, or what do you do for the Christmas
come on
idea?
in. We don't do anything different for Christmas. The same merchandise you see here in June is the same that's here in December, because I don't do anything different for the holidays, because I want you to see everything.
Do you have any of those, though, that maybe somebody could put around the tree, like
Got perfect trains for you for your Christmas tree. For the person that you don't know what to get, there's gift certificates available. But just remember one thing, nothing beats a failure but a try.
Yeah.
100% right. Quickly give the address and the name of the business and the phone number, whatever you want people to know about.
Ventura Hobbies is located in the North Bank Plaza, across the parking lot from what used to be the Century 16 movie theater that's now Victory Outreach Church. We're open 7 days. Sunday, Monday, and Thursdays are the short days, noon to 5. The others were open till 5:40. We've been in the community for 37 years. We've done a lot with charities. We've worked a lot with the foster kids of Ventura County. We've been with Kevin almost a decade since the beginning. I remember seeing Kevin when he used to come into the studio, because you can listen to myself on Fridays as a guest host with Tom Spence. Just like Scott, the video guy, he's there on Thursdays. It's like we hear each other, and now it's like, oh, so that's what you look like.
That's what the faces look like.
That's what the faces look like. But come on in. We're here 7 days. Whether you're doing school projects or Christmas, we got you covered all year long.
Thanks, man. Appreciate your support, and I see us doing more. I would like to come and do a video, and then also again start. I'm gonna use some of these when I'm teaching the entrepreneurial side of commitment and the process and building. You can't rush it. As some of our ways to teach some of our classes too for the business side. So thank you very much, Vern.
Thanks for coming. Look
Always
forward
a
to it.
Thank you,
See
man.
you Friday
Yes,
in the
you will.
studio.
Nice to meet you, my
Yeah,
friend.
you got
We'll
customers
listen
coming in.
on the air.
See you on the air.
We'll listen to voices again. Yes.
Hey,
So that's it. We don't have Barry, so let's just say let's go.
And again, Missy's Cupcakes, thank you again. See how community works? Missy's Cupcakes. We got Vern here, and how many people come together have been supporting us, and how we support one another. Missy's Cupcakes. Scotty, which one do you want?
I'm gonna take that pink one.
All right.
color?
I don't know why.
I'm gonna go with the chocolate.
For me?
The chocolate one. All right, we're gonna let him go so we can get to work.
So
Check
long,
it out,
folks.
Take care.
Black.
Brought to you by AFTCO Fishing Apparel and Tackle, designed to perform. Channel Islands Sport Fishing, offering deep-sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats, and more. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. See what's out there. Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. Promar and Ahi USA. Premium fishing products and accessories with concepts developed by passionate anglers. Eagle Claw, American ingenuity and craftsmanship since 1925. Mudhole, the world's largest inventory of rod building and tackle crafting components from the best brands. Mossy Oak, from hot days in the water to sweltering afternoons in the woods, we've got you covered. Outfit your obsession. Special thanks to Subaru of Ventura and the Latino Business Expo. This has been a Rough Edge Studios production.